everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. And I'm eating gummy worms and drinking Diet Coke. And I wanted to be a little bit sassy today. As I said on my post on my community page, I was feeling a little bit sassy this morning. I got all cute. I couldn't think of a video idea that I really wanted to do. So I thought I would do a little bit of just bitching. Because I don't do that too much. Hold on. So this is Diet Coke in here because I didn't want to make coffee. And so anyway, so I just put up and I said, what are some topics you want to see me be sassy about or spill tea about or just what? Because the book community is just, specifically the romance community is just, you know, I thought 2021 was going to be better. And you guys know I stay out of the drama. I will stand up for my friends when they need it. I will speak up or shout out or discuss things when people want to. Because there's some things that are very important to me and I don't think we should be silent about them. But then there's other things that don't have to do with those things that I'm just like, shut up, you know, or like, why are you whining? Or why is this person doing this? You know, so like there's different levels of stuff. I just thought it would be fun. So we'll see what happens with some of these. A couple of them I did read ahead of time, but for the most part, we're just going to jump in. So we'll start at the top. So Julie ED asked me, books with heroes and heroines that you really disliked. I don't know if you'd wanted a whole video about this, but I'll tell you a couple things. I usually get the fuck out of those books if I'm not liking what's happening. But I will tell you a couple where I really liked one of the characters and I didn't like the other. And this is kind of unpopular. So in Daring and the Duke, I don't like Grace. But I love Ewan so much. He's exactly the kind of hero that I like. Not exactly, but Grace irritated me so much. I talk a lot about it in the vlog for that one. And I don't hate her. I don't hate her. I think she's badass in a lot of aspects. However, when I read that book, it was clear to me what was happening. And part of that is like, Sarah J. Maas sets up a good story. Not Sarah J. Maas. Sarah McLean. I'm sorry. It's Pharaoh Feb. I've been reading Sarah J. Maas. Sarah McLean sets up a really great story. Like, usually her books have an arc going through them or something going through the trilogy or series. And so, I don't know. It was just pretty clear to me what was happening with Ewan. And without spoiling any story stuff, I think it's pretty well known that Ewan needs to grovel for some things that he's done. And I just really didn't think that the groveling was all at his feet. And so it made me really mad that everyone else seemed to think so. And so it just bugged me. So that's an unpopular opinion. Otherwise, I don't really finish books if I'm disliking the characters. So I would have to think more about that. And I don't think I have enough to make a full video. I'm trying to think of there's definitely some YA ones. I don't really like Katniss. So it's very hard to read those books from her point of view. Yeah, I can't think of those. So that's not a super great first question. But okay, but then Lisa from Remarkably Lisa. Ooh, will that lean against there? Oh, ho, ho, ho. I think we found a winner. Lisa wants the tea. She wants the tea. I see you, girl. I see you. She said, what do you hate about Booktube? I mean, it's in general about Booktube, not so much about romance Booktube, and I think a lot of us feel this. And there are many questions. Well, not many. I got 12 questions for this video, and some of them are the same. Because people are is when people are on, people on Booktube not realizing that they like romance So, and I don't like hate this because I understand. Even myself, I didn't realize that it was the romantic elements that were the most important to me until I really had started Booktube and started realizing which stories I connected with the most. And they always had romance in them because you're really getting to a heart of a person when you're discovering who they love. Like, that is a beautiful relationship, in my opinion. And I just don't like that it's so easy for people reading other kinds of books to have very large channels because it's supposedly more acceptable what they like, even though romance, and you'll hear this, I don't like to sing the same song over and over again, but that's what you're here for, is the tea, is like they read romance too and just don't realize it and maybe even love the romance part of it. But because their channel isn't marketed towards that, like, they will just easily get more attention much quicker and much faster. And again, not all the time. This is me sharing my feelings. I'm not trying to prove myself right or wrong. Okay, let's just keep with that. Because I have friends in other parts of Booktube, and I love them and love their channels, and I think they do a great job with what they do. But something that even came about is there's a channel that I'm going to be a part of. I don't want to, like, spoil it, in case it's probably not going to be out yet when I put this video up. And they're slowly coming to realize that they like romance more than they thought. And so we did a collaboration about it and really pointed out a lot of books that they'd heard about and didn't realize that they were centered around romance, because that marketing for that book chose to market it a different way because they knew it would get better attention than if they played up the romance. Also, yeah, so that's just a hard thing for me because I have intelligent conversations on my channel. I'm not afraid to toot my own horn. Like, I will read romance that's just like candy cane sweet and just rots your teeth. And I will also read stuff that makes me weep and groan and agonize over the beauty of the story being told. Just like every other form of literature, there are both sides of that coin. And because I choose to designate myself as a romance booktuber, people don't want to listen to those conversations. Even though, in my opinion, the actual things that we deal with day to day are in romance more than they're going to be in sci-fi or fantasy or, you know, even sometimes like regular fiction. Because you can explore those emotions to such a higher degree when they're within a romance. So that kind of covers too of like how I feel about people hating on romance is just why. Like, Booktube as a whole, like, why isn't there room for all of us? You know? Why do we have to disparage the romantic elements in something that for me makes the story even better? Like, I just made a video with some of my favorite trilogies and series of all time, and there were series that are not designated as romance series, but the romance in those books meant so much to me. Like, they were why I read the books. So, it's interesting. Lisa asked me a bunch of questions. So the next one too was, what are your biggest insecurities on Booktube? I mean, they're a little bit of what I said, of like people thinking you're unintelligent because you are in one spot. And also, I feel like I'm never really going to upgrade my tech, just because YouTube is like doing romance Booktube is a passion project for me. It costs me money. I spend thousands more on books than I used to, which no one's forcing me to do. And we've had the consumerism conversation before. It's not about that. But the point is like, I buy more than I ever would have because I know that I'm reviewing and people want my opinions about things. And I see some of my friends who, they have pretty expensive cameras and they spend a lot of time on editing things. And I do question if I ever need to upgrade to that. Because it's just been me and my phone. I've used a Samsung 8, 10, and now I use a 20. And it's always just been me and my phone. And then I edit and upload on my phone, and then I use my Surface Pro to do the metadata and the back end stuff, and that's it, you know. And I don't want to have to learn how to use proper editing software, but I do wonder if that holds me back in some elements. When I see some of my friends who are putting out very high quality vlogs and videos, and it's me laying on my couch after having eaten a bag of gummy worms, recording up my nose and yawning and sneezing, and I just feel gross sometimes when I'm editing my vlog. I don't. It doesn't have to do with like body insecurity. I'm just letting you know that now. Like, I'm not talking about that by saying I feel gross because of how I look, because that isn't one of my insecurities. I don't have a problem looking at my face or hearing my voice or talking to myself. I mean the quality of the video itself. I worry if I ever need to upgrade that. And so I'm insecure that will I get left behind by never upgrading that. And so far that has not been the case. But if we're talking about insecurities, that is something for me. Also, I'm insecure about, like, am I building my circle enough? Like, do I have enough connections? I am daily surprised by people who, like, know my name and know who I am, because it's like, I have 6,000 subscribers, and I know I worked for all of you. I know I put my heart and soul to this. I've been making 4 to 5 videos a week for 3 years. So I know I've worked for it, but it's still, there's still always some imposter syndrome, especially when you start making even just the little bit of money that I make from this. You're like, well, what am I doing to earn it? So those are my insecurities. With my channel memberships, I started that back in, did I start that in October? I'm constantly like worried that I'm not providing enough. You know, enough of myself, and then my members will be like, Jen, we wouldn't be here if we weren't getting what we wanted. I'm like, I know, but you pay to see me. And it's like, I mean, any support is fantastic, and I'm just someone who I always want to make sure that I'm worth it to people. So that's a pretty big insecurity for me. Wow, this is getting kind of intense. The sassy stuff isn't really happening. What's a trend on Booktube that you're tired of? Ooh. I mean, since I have pushed myself fully into romance Booktube, there aren't a ton of trends that I'm tired of. When I was part of Booktube more as, okay, I'm part of Booktube as a whole, but when I was reading like everything, I honestly felt more pressured to read the new big thing coming out. And that has honestly, like, there's still some of that in romance Booktube, because when there's big releases we're excited for, everyone's excited about it. But in general, I just feel like within romance, so that's the thing too, is like within Booktube, there's all the different like sects of it. Like, are you reading fantasy or high fantasy, young adult fantasy? What is your main thing? But within romance, we can fit into any of those categories. And that's the thing that I said, like, blows my mind, is that there is romantic sci-fi and there is romantic high fantasy, and like all those things are within it. And so I don't feel constrained the way that I did when I was doing Booktube as a whole. And it's like, if you're not reading the newest stuff, people aren't going to watch you, which that definitely isn't true, because still to this day, some of my highest viewed videos were book reviews I did for random books that I just really liked. Because those are books that have longevity, because people will read that for a book club and want to see your opinions and stuff like that. So those definitely weren't wasted. But, so I don't know, Lisa, completely the answer to that, because there aren't any like trends I'm tired of. I mean, I personally just involve myself in the things I want to be involved in. So the readathons I want to be a part of, I make sure I do. I don't feel pressure to do them. The ones I'm involved in, I genuinely want to do. So yeah, I don't know. I've pretty much left behind any trends I don't want to be doing. And I don't really cave to the pressure of that, because I've built my platform and my brand based on what I want to be. And I feel like I'm very respectful of everyone. And I am a safe space for a lot of people. And I don't say that in like a weird way, but I mean, so many people that are good friends and people that have only watched my videos and I've never talked to them, will reach out to me with these really personal things or questions because they feel safe with me after how I talk about books and how I made them feel. And so I think I'm doing a great job about that. Oops, I talked too long and made my computer turn off. And then the last one, she said, what irks you in Booktube videos? I will tell you this. I hate jump cuts. I abhor them. It doesn't, so I don't always watch Booktube completely all the way through. And I just mean if they're every other word, okay? Okay, because you need to do them sometimes. And some people, they're insecure talkers, so they like to use that. They like their videos to be really clean. I, long time ago, decided that I didn't want to pick apart my videos. So I leave my ums and ahs in and my likes in, and some people don't like that, and then they don't have to watch my videos. It's fine. And that's how I feel about, there are some bigger creators in Booktube, and I don't mean romance Booktube, I mean Booktube, that I stopped watching because I felt like I was flinching every time they did it. And that's just a style. It's a style that they like, and they do a lot of fancy things in their videos, so maybe they feel good about it. But I love a video where I'm just sitting down to chat with you. And again, I'm not saying this that you can't edit or whatever. This is Ask Me What Irks Me. And what irks me is when there's constant cuts. Like, they don't even make sense with the flow of your doing. Because that works too. Like, if you've ended talking about it and you're switching to a new book, yeah, you're going to cut some stuff out. Or your dog came through, so you cut it out. It's fine. But you know what I mean. There's those videos where after each word, they have, like, moved a little bit because they're cutting out every other word, and I'm just like, So I only cut things out, like, if I yawn, if I completely forget my train of thought, if I say, and then, like, leave a huge space, I'll cut it out. But otherwise, I'm getting into my videos, putting in my front tag, putting in the pictures that need to be there, make sure I didn't miss anything, and boom, it's done. It's part of why I'm able to put out so much content, because I don't worry about those things. And when I see some people who do it, I'm like, I know you're taking really good care of your video, but I don't want to watch it when you're cutting it every 5 seconds. So if there's some creators that do that, I generally will have them as like a listen. They won't be a watch. There's some of my favorite creators that literally I save their videos all day, and when I eat dinner and I'm doing my like end of the day stuff, I will watch their videos all the way through because I just love everything. And then there's some people that I want to support them and I want to watch them, but I will listen to them because I can't stand looking at it. So there you go. There's some honesty, and don't assume I'm attacking a single person because I can't currently think of any of my romance Booktuber friends that I'm talking about. It's all specifically more Booktube as a whole that I don't watch. All right, here we go. We're getting into it. Mayfer asks, what's your opinion on the whole indie romance situation? Do you recommend separating books from author or just blocking their books for life? Like the LJ situation, Seven Rue, and now SM Soto, although that's another thing. In your opinion, calling out people for their mistakes is becoming out of hand or just louder because of social media? Okay. So I knew this one was going to come up, and it's part of the reason why I was ready to do the video. Like, I wanted to bitch about some of this stuff too, because I do have a lot of opinions. So, a couple things. I recommend separating the book from the author sometimes. To me, it honestly depends on the situation. Like, I don't feel good making a blanket statement about, like, if someone fucks up, we completely cut them off. I like to see someone acknowledge their issue and then take some time, and I need to just, like, feel better about it. I know what you mean by, like, when there's a situation where there are receipts for what you've done, like, friends of mine, I consider that a receipt when a direct friend of mine tells me that someone treated them badly and shares and is vulnerable, because it's a risk to do that. When someone that I care about and respect and love tells me, hey, this author treated me this way, they're dead to me. Like, the author is done. Unless they directly reach out and apologize to my friend, I'm done. And to be fair, this is easier for me than I would say, because no author that I dearly, dearly love and just treasure in the romance world has done that. They've all been authors that I've maybe tried their stuff and didn't care. So I'm speaking from a place of, this was not my favorite person. I have some friends in the community that some of these authors are some of their favorite authors, and then this is happening, and now that's a hard decision for them to make, and they need to decide if they're able to separate the work from the author. Because I think it's personally a decision where you're going to spend your money. But in cases where there literally is receipts for someone stealing, which is what happened with SM Soto, I don't care how she explains that, when you're able to show that this isn't some random person, like someone contacted you and said, you plagiarized, I have the proof, and you just ignored them. And then to put a post that is like, I'm not going to admit the stuff that I know, because that's rude. Well, now you're trying to throw shade at the person that you stole from and just try to shame them into being quiet. And I'm like, bitch, we're past that point. Like, I don't want to share what was shared with me. And I was like, if you honestly needed to save your career, then you would do that. The hard part with indie authors is that you can just pop up under another pen name. That's the Seven Rue controversy, is this character, this persona, she has multiple writing pen names, and that's the whole issue. She has so many pen names and identities, and is attacking other authors and spamming their page and sending her army of ghouls after them. It just pisses me off so much. And like, again, I've read quite a few of this author's works. I have some on my shelf that I don't know what to do with them, because I don't want to take them to a used bookstore, because they are pretty creepy books to just come across that way. So I don't know how I'm getting rid of them yet. I'll probably sell them to someone who's willing to buy them, but oh, it just makes me so upset. So anyway, so those are kind of my opinions on those like separate things. I think it's up to you if you want to separate the author from the work. I honestly wouldn't tell you you can never read an author because of something that happened. And this is where my opinion might differ from other people. Like, I don't believe in, we as a mob are telling you you have to cancel this person, because you can look at the evidence and look at what's done and decide. It's on you. And here's the thing. No one's ever going to know that you did it. So you have to decide. Like, again, these authors, I don't like them. I had an SM Soto on my TBR because one of her books was Nicolette's favorite book. And Nicolette doesn't now have to hate that book for that. But I can tell why she'd be conflicted. And she so passionately loved that book. Like, I watched a review of it and it was on my TBR because she talked about it so great. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to read it. Because that's what books do for us. So I can only imagine the betrayal you would feel, because a book becomes really personal to you. You know, it is your, I know the books that are my favorites, like I burn for those characters. I burn for you. And so if I found out that the author is a piece of shit, how do you do that? You know? Yeah. I don't know. In your opinion, calling out people for their mistakes become out of hand? So I think it has in some ways, but in other ways, I'm like, well, how else were people supposed to know? You know, I don't believe in like a mob mentality that can be created by these things. Like, that's the thing for me with the SM Soto, is that people were sending her like hate messages and death threats, and like, it is a crime. Okay, it's a crime to plagiarize. It is. But it's also like, don't threaten people about it. Just cut them off and make it done. Like, make it known and then cut them off and just let it die. Because I feel like we feed the fire so much. Like, everybody wants to hop in with an opinion, which here I am offering my opinion, hopped in. Like, I know, being a hypocrite about it, but I'm talking about it in general. It's like, I want the information shared with me so I know which authors I won't be purchasing anymore. And then just cut off all talk about it because they don't deserve it anymore, you know? Because it's all like, some people are going to go read those books and pay for them now because they want to see it, you know? And I don't want to give those people money out of curiosity. You know, I don't want to do that. So that's where I feel is like, I like social media. I want us to get the word out, but then I want it to stop. We don't need to death threat people over books. Like, honestly, some people jump to that and it's just really inappropriate in my opinion. I think shaming the person to a certain degree and being like, we know that you did this. You're cut out. It's done. Come back and either apologize or just like GTFO. But I don't believe in like dragging it out and whatever. Like, let people know about it. The people who care about it will know because we're paying attention, and then just let it go, because that's all that you can do. Like, are you going to spend your whole life making sure that every person knows that this author did us wrong back in 2020? Like, no, there's too much other shit. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Someone else asked, how do you feel about people hating romance? Save the book boyfriends for me. I'm still getting my check from YouTube, whether people say they hate it or not. And I don't think people actually understand what they hate. There's romance in everything. So you obviously don't hate it as much as you think you do. There was this freaking article that came out where people were saying they read the book and they thought the sex was overblown. Number one, you don't have to have sex in a romance. Does not have to have sex. It can be closed door. It can be whatever. That's fine. But also that review, I was like, what kind of sex are you having? Because the sex in Bridgerton was boring sex. Okay? Like, it was hot. It was fun. But they did one position and then flipped it up for a second one to show that we did something different. Did it on a desk once. And it's overblown. Like, what? Well, there was up against a tree. Anthony did do it up against a tree. That happened too. But I'm just like, that's just for clickbait. And I know, like, we all got really passionate about it too, but you know they said that because they wanted some trolls to come from. It's very clear that the show is doing fine. It's been #1 in several countries since Christmas. We're over a month afterwards. A second season is already greenlit. The books are completely sold out. People hating on romance, and I know I'm talking about one specific kind of romance, but I'm like, romance still fuels all the other things. There are publishing houses that are literally open because their romance gets out the door, while other authors take 4 to 5 years to write a book. Their books are valuable. They are. One of my favorite authors who writes fantasy romance, her books take a long fucking time to come out. In the meantime, another author has written 5 to 10 books by now. If there's someone like Kay Webster, they're writing 20 books a year. You know, there are different kinds, and it doesn't make one more valuable or less valuable than the other. But people are just wrong when they hate on it. They do not have to like romance, though. So that's the thing about that, is like, how do you feel about people hating on romance? Well, I hate on pretentious sci-fi. I hate on, you know, contemporary realism that just bores me out of my mind. I don't go out of my way to find people who love it and hate on them. So when people come into the community to just pop their head in and be like, romance is stupid, bye bitches, and run away, then I'm like, okay, whatever, troll. But people are wrong. Romance is great. I'm sorry if you're a old lonely hag, but see, I'm a young hag working on my hag status, okay? And I'm happy for all the other people who are happy. I got my B.O.B. beside the bed. I'm gonna be fine. It's okay. All right? It's okay. I'm fine. Okay? And when I finally find a good man for me, like, I'm gonna be happy I read all that romance. We're both gonna be happy that I read all that romance. It's gonna be great. This is a random one. How do you feel about the flood of duologies and trilogies in indie romance? That's something I find very frustrating. More and more stories are divided in little parts of 200 pages each to sell more books, when the book should have easily just been a standalone or just 2 instead of 3 books. Miss Eleanor Shelby. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I know I get irritated when it happens as well. Like that's happening with The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. It's only 200 pages and there's going to be 3 of them, and so it's going to be a 600-page book. But there's a couple of reasons. Like, I don't think it's just the author doing it to sell more books. I think it's in the indie world, like, them needing to consistently have something coming out to keep their business going. And they may get those 3 parts out within a couple months. So instead of them waiting like 6 months to get a book put out, they're able to put one out every 2 months and keep sales coming in so they can keep working. So I know that, yes, it is like to sell more books, and that can be frustrating, but I always try to think about it as like it is a business to them. And they're keeping you coming back for more. And like they need to keep their kids fed too. So yes, does it get frustrating when I get to a cliffhanger of a book that was only 200 pages long and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this right now? Yes. But in general, there's 1,000, 100 million other books that I can read. And so that's one of the reasons I try to fall for books that are already out. So I just think that that's how they need to structure their business. I'm equally as annoyed with big publishing houses that only put out one book every 8 to 9 months in a series that I love. Like some of my favorite authors, their books come out once a year, if that, you know? So would I have rathered if that book took 2 years to come out, or I got parts of it every couple months? I don't know. That's up to you. So I don't know. I agree with your frustration, but I also just understand it as the business, and it's irritating, but I also am just like, okay, and I move on to the next thing. So I don't know. Unpopular Outlander opinions. You most hated, though usually liked, book characters. So I'm pretty sure that I don't have any unpopular Outlander opinions. Because the person that I hate, everybody hates. Well, not everyone. The men usually like him. Like, I don't like Frank. But I feel like book readers don't love Frank. Like, some TV watchers will love Frank because they love Tobias Menzies. So, like, I don't really have unpopular Outlander opinions besides to say that I think Claire needed a spanking and it was hot. And she got him back for it anyway, so I don't care. What is your opinion on people acting like romance is mostly and always about smut? Like there's nothing else to it but smut. I get frustrated when people act like it's only smut. This is true. So you need to be hanging out on Romance Booktube more is what you need to do. Because smut all day is what I would like. I don't interact with those people. I really don't. None of my friends really comment on what I read. My mom is the one who got me into romance novels, so that's not a problem. And yeah, my opinion is that it's stupid. And I know some of my other friends get more frustrated by this accusation than normal. But to be fair, most of the books I read do have smut, and I am here for the smut, so they're not wrong. I just like to say that there's nothing that brings two people closer together than having sex. And if an author has done a great job building to that point, that sex is deserved and earned. Like, what do you do in your relationships? Do you just build towards sex and never have it? How unsatisfying is that? I don't know. I don't really have to have this conversation very much because it's usually in an echo chamber because I'm talking with you guys and you guys always agree with me that it's more than smut. And sometimes I literally am just looking for smut and then we're there. So I guess my opinion is that people are wrong if they think it's only smut. You can send them my way. We'll have a talk about it. And they're missing out if they think that's all there is. Because there are definitely really deep, beautiful romances that we could send them to that do not have a lot of sex in them. And then there are some books that are erotic romance that seem like they are completely sexed and have some of the most beautiful and deep and meaningful stories I've ever read. So I can show you both ends. I can show you some of the dirtiest, naughtiest books you've ever read that will bring me to tears. And I can show you a book where the hand flex is all you're going to get. So, there's that. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for sending me these. I know this was spur of the moment. Like I said, I was just feeling sassy. This got a little deeper than we expected it to. But tell me your thoughts on some of the things I've said. I'd love to continue this conversation in the comment section. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. This isn't my normal content, but like I said, I was feeling a little sassy, and I didn't do a 6K video or anything, so I thought this was kind of a fun discussion to do or whatever. So thank you so much for watching this. I put up new videos 4 to 5 times a week, whenever. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.